the Fitterest Show with your host, Christopher Allen, where we explore the art of mind and body conditioning. If you talk to almost any successful entrepreneur, business person, athlete, or even individual, and ask them if their path to success was exactly as they envisioned, I bet nearly all of them would simply say no. Further, if you ask them if they knew how circuitous, arduous, and long that path to success was, would they have pursued it? And that answer is probably also likely no. But one can glean several takeaways from these answers. First, one's vision and passion for the goal is what enables them to overcome all of the hurdles, all of the speed bumps, all of the roadblocks and setbacks along the way. And second, there's just simply not one perfect path to success. In this episode of the Fitterest Show, we discuss those unique and different paths to success, as well as some of the commonalities along those paths to the destination. How you can recognize and employ strategies to boost your likelihood of a successful endeavor in a plan that works for you. But before we jump into that, let's first check out what is. In the news, and this week the story is about red meat, and most people have either heard or been told in general to limit their consumption of red meat and processed meats because of the concerns that these foods are linked to heart disease, cancer, and other potential illnesses. However, this week a research group out of Dalhousie University in Canada published a new research, it's on October 1st, in the Annals of Internal Medicine, concluding that there is not currently any good evidence that red meat is harmful to health. So the most evidence-based guideline is not to tell people to eat either more or less red meat. While there is some evidence that red meat consumption might be harmful, it's not strong enough to justify telling people to change their daily dietary habits. We simply just don't know if it's really harmful or not. So let's talk for a minute about the research methodology. So the new reports are based on 3 years of work by a group of about 14 researchers spread across 7 countries along with 3 community representatives. And the investigators reported no conflicts of interest and did the studies without any outside funding. So this wasn't a study funded by the red meat industry. This wasn't a study funded by the Beyond Meat artificial plant-based meats either. So a systematic science review, it's important to understand. It's a type of research where people look through all of the publications on a topic and bring them together to form the most robust perspective on a subject. To assess deaths from any cause, the group reviewed 61 different articles reporting on 55 different population segments, which comprise more than 4 million participants over the breadth of all of the research. The researchers also looked at randomized trials linking red meat to cancer and heart disease. There are very few, as well as 73 different articles that examine links between red meat and cancer incidence and mortality. In each of those studies, the scientists concluded that the links between eating red meat and disease and death were small, and the quality of the evidence was low to very low. Now, that's not to say that those links don't exist, but they're mostly in studies that observe groups of people, which is generally a weaker form of evidence. The health effects of red meat consumption are detectable only in the largest groups, and an individual cannot conclude that he or she will be better off not eating red meat. So in summary, in this study, the scientists have not said that red meat is not harmful. What they've said is that the current level of evidence is not sufficient to make recommendations or sweeping recommendations about red meat consumption either way. And that's an important distinction because an alternative type of study would have been an observational study where researchers ask people what they eat and look for links to health over a prolonged period of time. But it can be very hard to know and very difficult to ascertain what people are really eating, and people who eat a lot of meat are different in many other ways from those who eat little or none. As an example, if an individual habitually has a burger for lunch, do they also consume fries and a Coke, or do they get a salad with ice water? Makes a big difference in the overall health picture depending on your full dietary complement beyond just red meat. So these details could be important in assessing one's overall health beyond the consumption, again, just of red meat. So why is this important? The average American eats about 4.5 servings of red meat every week, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC. And about 10% of the population eats at least 2 servings of red meat each day. Despite flaws in the evidence, health officials still must give advice and offer some sort of guidelines to the U.S. population. Even if the data was in favor of eating less red meat, although imperfect, indicate that there are likely to be some health benefits. One way to give advice would just simply say, reduce your red meat intake. But then people would say, well, what does that mean? How much? How often? Hence the challenges of research and recommendation guidelines. And while there are some experimental evidence on the topic, it's basically impossible to run the kind of trial that would definitively prove that red meat was good or bad. So, from my perspective, at the end of the day, I tend to go back to what my grandparents and parents used to say, all things in moderation. Don't be afraid of a good steak or an occasional burger, even if you get fries and a soft drink, but don't make them a daily habit either. Mix up your diet with lots of different sources of protein. Okay, on to multiple paths to the destination. I entitled it that because, again, there are multiple paths to any goal or destination you're trying to reach. When you look out there in a sea of 10 steps to fill in the blank here success, or 6 secrets to self-actualization, or 50 things to help achieve your goals in articles and philosophies, it's important to note that your path is unique to you. And while many of those articles are great references and provide lucid insights into areas you may not have contemplated, they are just guidelines and areas to think about. As a simple example from the health and fitness arena, what a surprise, I could posit that a combination of nutrition, exercise, cardio resistance training, sleep, and supplementation are the cornerstones to help you achieve fitness success. However, even if that's true, which I believe it is, there are many, many combinations and permutations of each of those areas. Let's dive a little deeper just into exercise. Now, through the years of trying different things and lifting for many, many years, adapting, improvising, learning what works best for me in my body, I have a solid exercise routine that works for me. My cardio, I do morning fasted cardio on the treadmill. I take the dogs for a walk. I use the arc trainer or step mill depending on how intense I want my cardio session to be. And on the resistance training front, I go 5 days a week, 2 days off. I do stretching and cardio on those off days still. I could break that down further by the day of the week and body part, and whether I do free weight exercises, machines, dumbbells, bands, or etc. But the important thing is that routine works for me. And by the way, I still try to experiment and mix things up so as I don't get stuck in a rigid routine. But that might not work for you. You might be a runner and like to go outdoors for a run early in the morning for cardio. Or you may have bad shoulders and you might want to use more machines than free weights or dumbbells. Or you may just not feel an exercise and opt for something else to stimulate that muscle group. Or you may not even be a morning person and you may elect to do cardio during lunchtime. It's all good. You can still achieve your fitness and exercise goals via any of a myriad of paths, and that's what's important. It's great and helpful to copy someone else's routine or blueprint for success in a given area. It gives a great baseline, it gives great different ideas. But the real productivity boost comes when you adapt and tweak it for what works best for you. And that's kind of a never-ending process. Even though I would consider myself an intermediate to maybe early advanced in my training, I still observe and exercise someone's doing in the gym, watch how they're doing it, the mechanics. Sometimes I'll talk to them, ask them why they do things a certain way and why it might stimulate a certain part of the muscle. And then I might give it a try and see how it feels. And if I like it, I'll rotate it into my workouts on a periodic basis. So that's just a simple example in one specific area of exercise with cardio and resistance training to highlight that there are multiple paths to success. There are multiple paths to your fitness goals and what you want to do. One thing that I thought might be helpful is to provide a few areas to consider as you contemplate paths to your goals and your destinations. So here's a couple of different areas to consider when thinking about different paths and things to consider while you're on your journey. Now, this isn't meant to be exhaustive, but again, a few pointer areas that I think are common in the pursuit of a lot of goals with different paths to success. So the first area is what I call take a step back. Reflect on what is important, what you really want to do, and even the legacy you'd like to leave. Know why you want to achieve these things. Remember that time is likely the most valuable resource we all have, and how we use it determines our success in life. So rather than list out all the milestones that you hope to achieve, maybe try and write a description of what your future state of success looks like. Where you would be, who you would be with, what you would do with your time, that precious, precious commodity, what activities and interest you would want to pursue, what value you'd want to add to the world or to your community. And then visualize this relentlessly on a daily basis. Really think hard about starting that journey now to what you would like to achieve. Look, some people don't take action until it feels like they have to. They're cornered, they're pressured, whether it be triggered by a health scare or maybe the death of a loved one or something that prompts them to say, what have I been doing? Why have I been waiting? Why have I been sitting on the sidelines? Remember, there's no time like the present, so just start today. Another area to consider is stop comparing yourself to others. The best blueprint of all is the one that is as unique as you are, that fuels and is driven by your passions and fits your entire life, your personal life, your professional life, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, intellectually, and culturally. While it's human to look left and right, make sure you keep your eyes focused on your own path. It's okay to look and see what other people are doing and borrow things that you see might work better for you, but incorporate those into your path. Don't necessarily follow someone else's. What works best for one person may or may not work best for another. The only way to know for sure is to start down a path and then adapt as you continually learn more. There's only one thing that you're better at than anyone else, guaranteed, and that is being you, being yourself. This is the only game you can really win. There's always someone who'll be smarter, faster, taller, richer, better looking, whatever. So focus on what is most important, being a better version of yourself. That's all that really matters. When you start with this mindset, and it's important distinction to call that out and really think about that mindset, the world changes and starts to look better from all aspects. You're no longer focused on where you stand relative to others. Instead, your focus and energy is placed on what you're capable of, how you can improve yourself. When you do that, your effort, your energy are poured into self-improvement across multiple dimensions every day, not worrying about a neighbor, a coworker, a social media person that you don't even know. You become happier as you shed those false comparisons and focus on you in the present, you in the here and now. Another important area to consider, and it's a huge one for me, this is continuous learning, whether that be via mentors, books, videos, social media. Try something out and see how it feels. And remember to tweak and tailor it for yourself. One of the best ways to keep things in perspective is to have a number of people who inspire or mentor you. Not only do they provide wisdom and guidance, but they can also show you how many different paths there are to your destination. The more we're able to know and the more skills we acquire, the more value we can offer our friends, our families, and ourselves. And that places us in an upward spiral of growing in all different dimensions. And there's different ways to achieve this, just to serve as a microcosm of the topic at hand. On an individual level, continuous learning is defined by practices that you can carry out on a daily basis in order to continually increase your knowledge. There are lots of different ways to do this. You can ask for help from someone who might know more when you don't understand. Observing more experienced people. I do this all the time in the gym. Again, even if they're not necessarily more experienced, they might be trying something. Maybe it's unique. Maybe it's something that I'll respond to, then it works for me. And I might go up and talk to them and ask for a little bit more detail. You could try new ways of doing things and exploring alternative methods rather than just doing the same thing the same way. Remember to find ways to improve, such as taking up different training programs or online seminars or social media groups where like-minded people are already discussing some of the same things. There's also Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter influencers probably in your area of interest that you can follow and glean and learn from. So lots of different ways to continuously learn. Another area to think about when you're looking for multiple paths to your destination is to hold yourself accountable. Understand what are the consequences of missing a milestone. This is really the part where you step up. You define your responsibilities and make it clear to yourself or anyone else who's might be on the same venture with you, what your responsibilities are for achieving your goal. A great way to do this is to share your goals with others. So if you're making steady progress, you can report on that. And if you're not, you have to kind of fess up. The idea is to take ownership in what you're doing and keep yourself motivated to continue. Expanding your mind on the habit you choose is immensely helpful. Knowing more about the topic will just strengthen your why. Again, a simple example would be something about getting in shape. As most of us know, being fit is not only about exercising, but it's also about eating healthy, getting enough rest and sleep, etc. How do you learn to eat healthy? Well, by reading books, watching documentaries, talking to your friends that might care just as much or more about the food that they put in their bodies, people that are healthier, personal trainer. There's lots of different sources to learn and start to incorporate those learnings into your lifestyle. So manage yourself by making yourself accountable for how you spend your time. One of the things you can also do is to review your to-do lists each night and once a week in more detail and study on what you've accomplished and where you fell short. You can schedule time each week to reflect. How were your eating habits this week? Did you exercise? What about your spending? Did you stick to your budget or did you splurge? How can you and what can you do better to improve next week? It's a game of micro adjustments toward the end goal. It's not going to all happen at once. Another option that some people like is an accountability buddy. This can help you make strides in your goals. The key here is finding someone reliable and truly committed. If you can't find someone to be an accountability buddy, tell a friend, family member about what you want to do. You can also, there are some groups online where you can use them as an accountability group to where you report your successes and shortcomings to that group, and they generally provide good support because they're going through the same thing and they're trying to get to the same goal, whether that's financial independence, whether that's being in shape, whether it's a better relationship with their significant other, etc. A lot of times, those people will actually help you stay on track, even when you start to get distracted. So don't be afraid to look for sources of accountability. Another area that might help you reach your destination through a multitude of paths is not being afraid to experiment. Get out of your comfort zone. If you want to achieve something great, you will also inevitably face failure. And that's not because you're dumb. It's not because you don't deserve it. It's not because you aren't special. It's because you don't know exactly what you're doing just yet. None of us do. When you start your journey, I remember when I first started working out, I watched people and did a lot of things wrong for a while. And you learn and you grow and you get smarter and you adjust and you adapt and you improvise and you get better. And it doesn't matter how much you follow an expert's suggestions or what internet course for success that you took, you will still encounter failure. You're going to make mistakes. You'll find obstacles, pitfalls, challenges all along the way. The good news is, if you're doing it right, you will constantly be learning from all of those mistakes, all of those speed bumps, all of those pitfalls. You will learn what to do and what not to do. You'll make the tweaks to your process. You'll adapt, improvise, and change until you discover what works for you. That's why we must embrace experimentation, trying new things outside our comfort zone. Take action, despite the fact that we know we're going to hit speed bumps along the way. You have to be willing a little bit to embrace the unknown. If you don't, you're really not going to achieve much. There's a saying that goes something like, if you want a perfectly safe life, just do nothing. Because only the people who make mistakes that are willing to learn and push and grow and change are the ones that are going to achieve the next level. Another area to think about is remember that life happens. You'll most likely have a very circuitous path rather than a straight line from starting point to destination with success all along the way. The important thing is to learn from these detours, these setbacks. One of the most amazing things about success is that when you look back on it, the path that got you there is rarely the one you thought would be the path that you would take. So pay attention to the detours. They may not always be the fastest route, but they will definitely be the one on which you learn the most and the path that you need to be most successful. And celebrate that hard route when you ultimately are successful. Reflect on the obstacles that you overcame, the challenges you persevered through, the important learnings you take away from the struggle. Success is that much sweeter when the path was not a shortcut or an easy path. Remember, pain makes you stronger. And also remember that life will occasionally just kick you upside the head and knock you down. It's just part of life. Mental attitude is key here, and ability to persevere through and make progress with a mindset when life does happen. And I think I probably saved the best for last when contemplating areas to help you achieve your goals through multiple different paths. And that is simply working your ass off. The execution part. In driving toward achieving any goal, you could look at market research, articles, analyst reports, comments, detailed strategy plans, flow charts, etc. But my advice is to have a high-level plan in mind and start to execute. Take that first step. Start now. In my opinion, it's better to have the second or third best strategy with superior and relentless execution than even the best strategy with flawed execution. Start moving toward your goal sooner rather than later. You'll start that learning curve faster. You'll start adjusting faster. You'll start growing and adapting faster, and overall, making more progress more quickly. There's no time like the present. You've got to start somewhere, so dig deep, find the courage, step it up. Your goals are not going to happen if you don't take action. It's scary taking that first step. Maybe you're still working on the details or you're worried that you're not ready, but my advice would be jump in. You'll figure it out as you go. You get a lot smarter by being a practitioner of something, even if you make mistakes along the way, and you know going in, you're going to make mistakes. So why not make them quick, early, and adjust, adapt? Remember, achieving any goal requires you to hone good habits and follow through. Success doesn't happen overnight. It's about making it happen day in, day out. And certainly developing good habits and learning techniques for being productive will help you stick to your plan. Even healthy habits, like getting enough sleep, eating well, taking care of yourself, will give you the energy and stamina you need for any goal. It doesn't even have to be a fitness or exercise goal. If you want to be financially independent, I think healthy habits are a great foundation on which to build. Productivity habits, like learning to prioritize tasks, work efficiently, stay focused, will make it even easier to reach your goals. Remember that change is part of life, and that means you need to be flexible. You may require an alternative plan if things aren't going perfectly. And don't become so focused on your goals you forget what your larger vision is. Maybe it's time to make sweeping changes. But again, the most important thing is to start, to execute, and do it sooner rather than later. So in summary, there are a lot of different paths to a destination, a lot of different ways to achieve your end goal. You can start with establishing a baseline, know where you want to go, but not so much detail that it's likely to go off the tracks because you missed milestone point number 632 of 1,467. That's a little too much detail. Remember to observe and learn, copy, borrow stuff from others. That's one way that you can learn. Be flexible. Learn to adjust, adapt, improvise, keep moving forward. Tailor things to yourself and what works best for you. You must create your own path to success in your life. No one can tell you what will make you happy, and no one can tell you the best way to go about creating the life that you really want for you. You must decide your own destination. Devise your own path for getting there. Success happens when you actually decide on what you want. You devise a plan to go after it, and you consistently execute the hell out of that plan until you get the result that you want. You must be the one that decides what you want. You must be the one that determines your path to success to align with your definition of what success looks like for you. And of course, you must be the one that relentlessly executes the plan. Even though it's going to evolve, it's going to shift in direction, but it will always be in alignment of your vision of success. There's no such thing as an ideal path. The blueprint for success is personal. It's unique to each individual. You're the only one that can discover your passions and talents by using your intuition, your knowledge of yourself, and by being curious and reflective. And when you add in continuous learning and a few key role models to help inspire your blueprint and vision, the paths to your destination will start to unfold. With that, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to listen to The Fitterest Show. You can follow us on Instagram at Fitterest Mind Body and on Twitter at Fitterest Mind. If you enjoyed this episode, please send it to a friend or subscribe to make sure you don't miss any future episodes of The Fitterest Show. My name is Christopher Allen, and make it a magical day.